Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to host a high-converting virtual summit that leads to your biggest signature offer launch yet. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and this is going to be a fun one. In the last episode, I shared how my team has evolved over the years, going from one VA with a few hours per month to a team of contractors and employees that I have today, and they are truly just the dream team. So in this episode, I thought it'd be fun to bring in all of my employees to share a little insider info and their perspective. Could go badly, but I think it'll be great. So I have a couple questions that were submitted in the Summit Host Hangout Facebook group that we'll cover, and then the team and I brainstormed a few others. So we're just going to dive right in. And I want to start with some intro. So in the last episode, I did share like my perspective about what each of you do, but I think it's also fun for everyone and me to hear it from your perspective too. So I'm going to have each of you start by sharing what you do here at Summit in a Box. Don't worry, this is not a quiz. And like what you do outside of it too, because everyone has really cool stuff going on outside of this company. And I think it'll be fun for everyone to hear that. So I'm going to start with Elli. Go ahead and kick us off with what you do here and what else you have going on.
Yes. So currently my role with Summit in a Box, I would say, is primarily on the client success side. I do a lot of client support and coaching in our Launch with the Summit Accelerator. And also internally, I do some of our marketing and sales stuff too. So I run our Facebook ads, I process our applications. So if you've applied to the accelerator, you've probably talked to me at some point. So it's kind of like a mixed bag of marketing and coaching related stuff that I do for Summit in a Box. And then outside of Summit in a Box, I also have another business that I run with a co-founder. It's called Supported CEO, and we work with entrepreneurs to help them build self-trust and confidence as a way to prevent burning out. And we also have the Supported CEO podcast.
And you're just so good at the preventing burnout piece. And I feel like I have an amazing coach, but I think having you on the team has also had a big part to play in me getting out of just the constant go phase, because you're the one person I've ever worked with who is like, maybe we should slow down a little bit. Or I don't want to do it that fast. And, I think in the beginning at first I was like, excuse me, but it's so good for me. And now I know, like, when I want to do something fast, I usually run it by Elli. I'm like, hey, Elli, is this a bad idea? Because it's just so good to have that person. And, with that in mind, like, I think we can be fully transparent. Your role has evolved in this company partially because of that, partially because of starting Supported CEO, but partially because I'm a little unpredictable sometimes. So do you want to talk a little bit about how your role has evolved? And I think we're in like a really good spot now.
Yeah. So for sure. First off, I'm glad that that's like well received, because I know that it definitely like didn't necessarily have to go that way. But yeah, I'm all about doing things in a way that's like going to be sustainable long term, and not just like diving headfirst into something that like I might be able to keep up with for a little bit, but then like I'm going to fall off on. And so, so my role has changed so much over the course of like, honestly, like years at this point that we've worked together. Like, I think the first project that we did together, or one of the first projects, was like when I wrote the copy for the launch, like the very first launch of Summit in a Box back in, I think, 2019. So that we've worked together in different capacities for a long time. But I came on to the Summit in a Box team full time in 2022 and was doing, my role has always been wide ranging, but doing a lot more, including like copy for all of our launches. And that was really where I was like, I don't know if I can keep up with this, because like there's just a lot of copy that goes into launching something new. And like, I love how much of a quick start you are and how excited you get about like, oh, let's do this new project. But some of the the amount of copy, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And so that it took a little while to kind of like get my role to a place where I think now it's in a place where it feels really great for both of us. But it definitely was a kind of a transition period to like figure out what was going to work.
Yeah, it's really interesting to look back on. I do feel like there are a lot of people who would not have taken the pushing back very well. But I think that's maybe like part of why our team works so well together is we're all very receptive to each other's ideas. And, even if the initial reaction was like, what? Like, what's going on here? Giving it time to sink in, it's like, oh, no, she's definitely right. So I'm glad we were able to have those conversations.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's move on to Miss Kate, sharing what you do here at Summit in a Box and what you do outside of it.
I love this question because when people outside of here like ask me like, oh, what do you do for work? And I'm like, I don't know. But only because I do so many like little things that it's hard to say, oh, I just do copy. No, I don't do copy at all. That's absolutely not what I do. But I I, do the simple things like the inbox, the calendar. Ellie and I work on the podcast, putting it into a blog. But then there's so many little things like behind the scenes that I do with like keeping stuff updated and trying to find better ways of doing things and automating things that I can as tech evolves, and all the bajillions of updates that we do to the program. Crystal will make a new video. Well, it's got to get edited. We got to get captions. And so there's a lot of little things behind the scenes that I do that it's really kind of funny to be like, well, what do you do? I don't know. A lot of stuff.
Everything.
Everything. Outside of Summon a Box, though, I'd say the biggest, I don't have another business, but I volunteer for Civil Air Patrol, which is, best way to explain it is it's a auxiliary of the Air Force, but it's all civilian based. Like no one is like in the Air Force. We're all just citizens. But our biggest things are aerospace education. We have a cadet program, emergency services. So like, a flood nearby will go and help. The CAP has done a lot of using, because we have aircraft, so we've done a lot of search and rescues all over the U.S. Our team actually went and did one last summer up in northern Minnesota. So that's really cool. And that keeps me busy. It's one of those volunteers things where you can put in a lot or a little, and a lot is always needed to be done more than gets done. So right now I'm devoting a lot of my outside time into it because we're kind of in a season of transition, but it's really cool. It's also kind of fun because my oldest son is in it. So we get like a little bond there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that. And I love seeing you step into that more and have something else outside of work that's like using the really incredible skills that you have. Like
I have used so many of the skills that I learned at Summon in a Box there. I'm like, oh, we need to be organized. I got this. I was like, let me introduce you to Airtable. And so now we have a whole bunch of tracking stuff, because when you've got like 50 people in your squadron, you need to track stuff. And there's some basic systems, but I've made them better. So that's been kind of fun to pull things from one world into the other.
I love that so much. I've done that with church too. I'm like, okay, you guys need ClickUp. Here are written processes for everything I've ever done for you. And they're like, what? I'm like, I don't know how they function. So
I know.
love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so your role has also changed a ton since you've started, thinking back to that initial job posting that you responded to. I'll let you talk about it.
Oh man, so COVID had just like become a thing. It was like May of 2020, and I was just like, okay, I need something to supplement because I wasn't working in the summertime. So I was like, oh cool, I'll at least start with this in the summertime and we'll figure it out from there. And I remember you being like, I really hope I can fill your 10 to 15 hours a week. And I was like, it's fine, like, whatever, we'll make it work. And by the end of summer, I was working full time, and like we haven't looked back since. We just hit the ground running and kept going. And so, yeah, it was a steep learning curve for me. I knew nothing about online business or any of that world, but I feel like in the almost 4 years, 3.5, 4 years now, that I've learned a lot, and there's tons more to learn, but I've really enjoyed it. Now I'm like, I could never not be in this world of business because I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I was able to steal you from a teaching job. It's good stuff.
Yes.
Good decision.
I think it was too.
Awesome. All right, Mel, you're up next. Share a little bit about what you do and what you do outside of Summit in a Box too.
Yeah, I am the new girl on the team here at Summit in a Box, and I'm so excited to be that person. I guess my official title is a leads coordinator. So I help you guys listening figure out where the best spot is for you within all the amazing offerings that Krista has in Summit in a Box. I aim to try and help Krista not be so busy all of the time and find the right people in the right places and put them where they need to be. So if you reach out, sometimes you'll get an answer back from me and just try to help guide you along on the journey and get you to that point where you're having an amazingly successful summit. I think that's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's what you do. And like Mel's role has been so interesting because we tried a new strategy last year and it worked really well right away. And I was like, I can't do this. This is working so well. It's like overall easy. It's very time consuming though. So I pulled in Mel really before I was ready to. Like there was no pretty systems. We have been winging it. There have been months where there's nothing for her to do, which has just like actually worked out okay with other things that have been going on. But a lot of the times we're just kind of like playing it by ear, trying to make the pretty systems that match the rest of our business. So Mel doesn't want to pull her hair out as she goes, but it has been really cool to have, you know, the person to help direct everyone to the right offer, the right way to get into that offer, who needs to have conversations with me. And I think it's been a really cool touch point to add with all of our people.
It's so good to hear that perspective from you because I'm like, I'm in there doing the things and just adapting as we go, but not sure if I'm missing out or if I'm forgetting things, but just knowing that it's all evolving together in whatever way it needs to be is really great.
Yeah. Okay. And tell us about what you do outside of Summit in the Box.
Yeah. Outside of Summit in the Box, I am a clinical herbalist and I run my own business called The Herbalist Path, where I teach moms how to use herbal medicine in a safe and effective way. I host a podcast by the same name, The Herbalist Path. And I am the creator of an online herbal mentorship called Apothecary Mama and a medicine making program called Medicine Making Mamas. So I talk about herbs a lot.
Yes. So much good stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you here. Awesome.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So another one of the questions that we had submitted was like, with the team that you have, how do you stay organized? How do you organize new projects? How do you decide who does what? I'm just going to open it up to whoever has thoughts on it to just go ahead and share a little bit.
Can I just say praise Kate? That's what I want to say. Thank you, Kate. You are the magic worker as far as I know on the back end in all things organization.
I appreciate that. I think how it works because like we each have our own zone. We each do our own specific thing. And I think that's what makes it work for all of our projects because we know if, it's copywriting, well, that's an Elli thing. If it's setting up the tech on the back end, well, that's a my thing. If it's recording the actual, things, that's a Krista thing. I don't know. I feel like each person has their own part to play, and that's what makes it work, is that we're not stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah, I feel like that's an important part of having a team that works together well, is that there is a clear person for each job. Like, I think it would be difficult if there were like 2 VAs, or I'm sure some people make it work, but like when I saw this question come in, I was like, oh, I never actually thought about it, because when I look at a task, I just know who it goes to. Like, it always seems pretty clear. So that's good. All right. Another fun question we had submitted was about human design. So first, do all of you know your human design types? You can just nod at me. Yes, no. Okay, I got a no, I got a yes, and I got a maybe. So this is going to be great. Okay, so for those of you, let's start with Mel then. You're into human design. What's your human design type?
I am a generator, and I am a 6-2 generator, and I can't go too deep into it. I'm just like looking at my chart right now to make sure I have it right, but that's definitely me.
Okay, do you see that play out in the way you work as part of this team at all?
I feel like I need to dive deeper into what it all means, because I feel like human design just keeps going and going and going and going. Like, as a generator, as I look at it right now, it says the life force, people who are here to lift the energy of the world. And that's definitely like how I play out in a lot of things in the world. So hopefully I can do that in this team as well.
Yeah.
But the energy is already great in this team, so you don't need me for that.
No, it's so great though, because every time you come on a call, you do add energy. And I think that's part of why you got the job, because I was looking for someone to talk to our people. And I don't want someone getting an email that just feels like, I want it to be awesome and fun. And that is exactly what you bring. So it totally shows up in the way you work, and I love it.
Yay, that's awesome.
What about you, Ellie? What human design type are you?
So I don't really know much about human design. I actually looked up my type yesterday when I saw that this was a question we were going to talk about. So I'm a generator. I actually just pulled it up. I'm a 4-6 generator. I don't know exactly what that means, but I looked it up just to see for the sake of this conversation. Human design is something that like I've always been kind of I hear people talk about it and been interested in, but never really like looked into. So I don't really know enough about what my type is to be able to say like how it impacts my role or anything like that.
Yeah, the person who submitted this question said that she's a projector and she doesn't see a lot of people in online business talking about that a lot, how she like will have a ton of energy for something and then just won't anymore. And I actually was wondering if you would be a projector, Ellie, because of how, especially when we were loading you down with a ton of copy projects, you would like have energy at the beginning, but you were like, I need to go hibernate for a little bit and recover from that. And so I was wondering what you would be. So interesting.
And I've seen other people like, seen the human design related content. And I was actually surprised, like, because I would have guessed from what I've seen, like projector is what I would say I like resonate with more. So I was interested to see that I was a generator, but I'm not sure.
And Kate, you're like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. But now I'm going to go take it because now I'm curious.
It's fun. Okay, you got to tell us when you find out because
okay.
I'd be super interested to know. And I'm a manifesting generator and I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know I have lots of ideas and get things done. And I feel like it's very handy as an owner of a business to have that type.
Funny that the 3 business owners have generator in there. It makes a lot of sense.
Ooh, interesting.
It is interesting.
Ooh. Well, now I know what I'm doing when we're this afternoon.
Kate's done. Honestly, Kate has done enough work for one day in the first few hours of the day. So thanks for being here, Kate.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. Okay, next up. And I just thought this would be fun to share this next question. Fun to share for people who do either have a team or want to grow a team to hear from the perspective of employees, like what makes you want to be on this team? Because I do have a history of having people on my team for a very long time. Like Caitlin has been working with me since 2016. I think Sharon has been here since 2018. Kate and Elli, you haven't gone anywhere yet. And like, I feel like that's kind of rare from what I hear in online business. So I kind of wanted you guys to share what your favorite parts are of this job or working with this team. And this is not for you to feel like you need to sit and like pat me on the back. I really want other people to hear like what makes it a team worth being on and a job worth having, I guess.
I can go first. I think like for me, I have never had an experience of working that was such a good balance of like having both flexibility and structure in terms of the way we work. Like there's so much, flexibility and control over our schedules and, ability to kind of work in the way that works best for us while also having plenty of structure to like keep us on track and make sure that we're still like moving in the right direction. And then 2, I also think we somehow get a really good balance of like being really efficient and like getting really good work done while also like having fun and like having like a really like chill and like supportive work environment at the same time. Like I don't know exactly how we do it. Like Krista, I think you're just kind of magical in this area in some way, but like it really is like a balance that I've never seen in any other team.
Yeah, that's cool to hear.
That's great.
I think there's also like a level of trust there. Like you, Krista, trust us to do our jobs. You know what I mean? You don't, you're not in there every day. Did you get this done? How is this going? Update me on this. Like I think that's helps too, along with everything else Elli said, because there's a great work-life balance. And I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of all the right personalities meshed together makes it that way too. Because I think it would be different if one of us in here, I don't even know what personality they'd have to have. I guess opposite of all of us. But
well, I mean, I think we kind of just experienced it, and I'm not going to give too many details or say too many names, but we had someone on the team for 3 weeks. And like you were saying that I don't micromanage. I don't check who's on Slack on what hour. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But we did just bring someone onto the team who I would have had to babysit 24/7 if anything was going to get done. And it just wasn't going to work. So I think like I don't micromanage, but also like I don't have to because you're all amazing. So yeah, I think it goes hand in hand kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about like, you don't need to micromanage as long as the work is getting done. I think that's kind of your philosophy. Like, as long as it's working, like you'd prefer not to have to be involved. And so I think like I know through a lot of trial and error with team members and stuff, have just like brought together, I think, a team where we're able to work in that way and get things done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
I'd say I echo very much what Kate and Ellie say. There's so much to say. And I'm the new girl on the team. And I love working with this team. It's really amazing to say that and to really genuinely feel that. Number one, Krista is so kind. You are just so kind and compassionate and wonderful to work with. And then also for me, it benefits me in so many ways because I am learning so much from you and from this business and from how it is structured for my own business. It's really, really cool to see the systems and the processes that are set up behind the scenes are so impressive because my brain needs a Kate, right? My brain does not keep things organized. My brain is like, I've got an idea. Let's do it. And we'll think about how later. So to see how that works inside of your team is really awesome. And everybody's great on the team too. I love the freedom and the flexibility and also knowing that I actually have an important role on this team. It's nice.
I think it's nice. We can genuinely ask, like, how was your day? You know, and like everyone genuinely will answer and care about each other's responses. It's not just a flip comment or question. You're like, oh, how was your weekend? But like, no, genuinely, how was your weekend? You know, we know about what's going on in each other's lives. We care about what's going on in each other's lives. I think that adds a nice level to it too.
Yeah, it makes me so sad to think about not having that. You know, like, and we've worked with teams who have that, where it is a business relationship. You better not mess anything up. We don't care about you as a person. Like, that's just not how it is here. And I can't imagine it. Like, all of us are not in corporate type jobs for a reason. So I don't know why we would like recreate that type of stuff on purpose. It's just a hard pass for me, basically.
Yeah. So. I think I wanted to say like another thing that is great is you also empower us to use our own brains for what their unique strengths are, which is great. I think that kind of falls under the like not micromanaging piece, but like you do have that level of trust. Like I have people on my team that I know are going to be great at what I've asked them to do. So I can just be great at what I'm here to do. I'm being Krista, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that was cool. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, we have a great team. Does anyone have anything else to add before I move to the next thing? All right, cool. One other thing that came up for me recently is the fact that we don't get on calls like this very much, and it's super fun. I just hate calls. I like being on the call, but I hate having the call on my calendar and planning around it and all the other things. And I'm so grateful that we don't have to have calls very often. But with this person we had on the team for a few weeks that didn't work out, she wanted weekly hour-long calls with me. And I was like, that sounds terrible. But I did it. And for the second call, she actually caught on pretty quickly. She sent me like a 3-page long document outlining all the things she was going to talk about on the call. Because she was like, it seems like your team works really asynchronously, which is awesome. So like, if you don't want to have this call, like, here's everything I was going to talk about. And I was like, oh, we get a lot done, and we very rarely have calls. Ellie and I are down to every other week check-ins, and sometimes we're like, I'm good. So it goes to monthly. Kate and I do monthly, and sometimes we don't even do that. Mel and I are just kind of whenever it can happen, it happens. But like, really the reason I have those is for the personal checkpoint, because I don't want anyone to feel like, I don't know. I want the relationships to be there, basically. And I know they're going to get built best on calls and not just me talking back and forth in Slack. But does anyone have any like thoughts or insight on how or why that asynchronous communication is able to work so well for us, even with like a fairly big team outside of the 4 of us even?
I mean, I think you've kind of described it in talking about how you don't like calls. It's like you have I think our systems help a ton. Like our systems and our clarity on like who's doing what and what our roles are, I think is crucial for that working. But also like you naturally don't want to have a ton of calls on your calendar. And also too, I know that you're an introvert and like you need that like blank space. And I'm the same way, like blank uninterrupted space of like just being able to put your head down and work with no interruptions in order to get things done. And so I think that you've just naturally like built your team in a way that works for you. And then also kind of naturally brought in team members who are like able to work in that way too. So I think it's maybe more intentional than you realize, like that you've been able to like build a team where we're able to work this way because that's just what works for you.
Yeah. Mel, you're an extrovert, right? Does it bug you at all?
No, I actually love it. And I was going to say, how much would I shock all of you if I told you I'm actually quite introverted?
Wait, no, are you for real?
I am. Like,
oh my gosh.
If anybody sees me, they're like, you are the most outgoing person I have ever met. But I really have to have that time of introspection and away from it all in order to have that energy to get out there. So does that work for me within this team? I think it's awesome because I'm a busy mom. So I can work when I need to and know that I have these tasks to do. That is my job. Get them done, which is not how I usually work in my business because I'm like, oh, those tasks are done. Let's see what other ones I can do and what other ones I can do. So I love it. It's great. Yeah. And it's definitely the systems and the processes that are in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. Not fun to talk about, but very important. Awesome. Does anyone else have anything that came up that you thought would be fun to mention? Otherwise, we'll wrap on up. All right. Well, thank you all for coming on. I hope this was a fun behind the scenes look for everyone. It was a fun excuse for me to get everyone on a call together. So that was great. And thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. For show notes and resources, head to the link in the episode description wherever you're listening. In the next episode, we're going to do another behind the scenes type situation. And I'm going to share a little look at the launch of our new Challenges That Make Bank program. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your high converting virtual summit.